Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start this video with a story about two government employees who got paid to do nothing for 19 months and turned their office into the world's weirdest sleepaway camp. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. My friend slept inside a copy machine at work, got paid for it. I have a very good friend who got paid to essentially do nothing for 19 months. It was a government job, no surprise there. She and her colleague worked in a state office that kept track of plague cases among prairie dog towns. They were super busy trapping and testing all summer, but once winter comes, prairie dogs hibernate, so they ran out of work. They told their boss via email there was no more to do for the season that first autumn, and their boss responded by telling them to stand by for reassignment. So they did. For months. They didn't want to be accused of theft by just clocking in and out and leaving, so in the very beginning they organized some storage spaces, very slowly, cleaned their office several times, organized paperwork and that sort of thing. When they ran out of crap to do, they started sleeping, doing schoolwork, Sudoku. When they ran out of crap to do, they started sleeping, doing schoolwork, Sudoku, what have you. Initially, they slept in turn, so someone was always available if anyone came to check in on them. But when it became obvious no one was coming, they stopped bothering. By summer the following year, when the prairie dogs came out of hibernation and she thought her work might resume, the whole office, all the employees in every department, received an email from someone high up informing everyone that particular department had been cut. Don't know if it was unfunded or they got all the data necessary the previous summer or that particular pet project of some politician was forgotten about. But somewhere along the line, the state fishing game axed the project for whatever reason. Nothing was mentioned in the email about her job status, so her and her coworker continued to go in and do nothing. She'd tell me about making a giant binder rubber band chain and roping two office chairs together, facing each other to sleep in the seats. She's only 5 foot tall, so she fit relatively well. Making a nest under her desk and moving the largish copy machine out of its cabinet and sleeping inside. They made sure the security people saw them periodically throughout the day and they were on camera. Anyone above them paying attention would have noticed, but no one ever took the time. They dodged folks in other departments for fear they'd get told on and just minded their own business. They rarely had much interaction with other employees anyway. Eventually, she ran into her boss at a show and she asked my friend where she had found new work. My friend didn't lie and said she still worked there. Where? Where you left them. She said you should have seen her face when the lady put the pieces together and realized what was going on. The jig was up, and she and her colleagues were let go that following morning via email before they went in. Because they had technically worked there for so long, I think 2 years was the threshold, they both got a little severance package. In case you're wondering, they got to keep their pay since, 1, they had proof they informed their boss they had no work and she clearly saw the email and responded. 2, they still showed up. 3, they did exactly what they were told. And 4, it wasn't their job to make sure they actually had work to do. They both qualified for unemployment to boot. Neither of them used the unemployment since they had both been feeling like the gravy train was sure to derail any day, so they had new jobs lined up. Edit. A few people DM'd me and asked what she does now. She got a glowing reference from the state job and went on to work at our city zoo, and then got her certification in wildlife rehab. She now works as a public outreach coordinator for a big cat sanctuary. No, she does not miss her old job of either juggling plague-ridden prairie dogs or being bored out of her mind. She says, "Thanks for asking." That's hilarious. And about exactly how I expect a government department to end up as financial bloat. I don't blame your friend at all. Somebody forgot to dot the I's and cross the T's, and it wasn't her. And our second story. This is a health code violation. They're trying to poison me. I work at the friendly neighborhood grocery store. Shift is going great, little drama here and there, nothing major. I'm the closing CSR, or shift manager, and it's like 10 p.m. Very slow, got my work done, breaking work policy and doing a lot of standing around doing nothing and chatting with my closing cashier. This lady approaches me. Let's call her SL, seafood lady. SL, can someone help me in seafood? Me. Sorry, ma'am. Seafood closed at 9. This lady gets mad so fast. SL, but there's food in the case. I inform her that the seafood staff leaves the frozen seafood in the freezer that's in the counter, but they remove the refrigerated stuff. SL, but there's food behind there. You tell me they leave that food overnight? I want to speak to a manager. Me. I am the manager and the only one in the store at this time since the store is closing at 11. She then pulls a, let me show you. So now we're back at the seafood department and points to the frozen seafood in freezer that is behind the seafood counter. SL, there's food in there. Why can't you serve me? Me, I apologize, ma'am. I'm not trained for this department nor in the same union. I cannot go back there. I just work in the front end. SL, okay, but why is this food sitting out? This is a health code violation. Would you leave this sitting out on your counter all night? Me, you'll have to take that up with the seafood manager or my manager. There's nothing I can do. SL, this is a health code violation. You're trying to poison me. Me, shrugs. SL, all I want is a lobster tail. And now she starts to repeat herself very loudly, and I have a few customers in the store that are looking over to see the commotion. She's beginning to make a scene, and this is where I ask her to leave. Very politely. She ignores me. Me, ma'am, I need you to leave the store or calm down. Ignored, and she continues, pointing at the food and freaking out. I see my closing checker peek around the aisle to see what was going on. Me, ma'am, if you don't like it, you can leave. And in that moment, I see the explosion of her attitude reach its peak on her face. She goes to make a swift step towards me very quick, but her male companion that was with her held her back. I stepped back, preparing for possible impact. She's still yelling and screaming, and I walked away. She left the store shortly after in silence. 24 hours later, she called the store to complain about me and left a nasty review. Edit. To clarify, it's a seafood counter, the freezer is glass and can only be accessed from behind the counter. And it's strictly a freezer of frozen crab legs and lobster tails. Further down the case is the refrigerated seafood, which the seafood clerk takes down each night, and I don't know what they do with it. She claims that you were trying to poison her, and yet she still wants the lobster tail. I love customer logic sometimes. And our next story. I trolled debt collectors for a year with fake hang-ups. 10 for 10 stress relief. A tale as old as time. You get a new phone and it blows up with calls from debt collectors. Most people can just send unknown callers to voicemail. I unfortunately worked tech support for a large company at the time, so I had to answer every call. I'll spare you the details of how annoying these folks are. Very should suffice, and I got tired of it pretty darn quick. I put up with it long as I could, but then something broke. I needed to F with these a-holes in as much as it was possible and legal to do so. Mostly I just wasted as much of their time as I could, but for the really annoying ones, I had a routine that I developed over the course of about a year. This is my petty revenge in the form of a dialogue. Dunner, is this Joe Detter? Me, is this about the unpaid phone bill from 2010? Dunner, yes. Mr. Detter, are you going to pay? Me, hang on a sec. I never said I was your dude. I work with him, though. He sold me this phone a couple of weeks ago and told me I might be getting a few of these calls. Listen, could you please just call him directly? I can give you his new address and phone number and the phone for our HR department if you want that too. Dunner, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Me, are you ready to write this down? It's click. Invariably, they'd call back thinking I had just accidentally disconnected. I'd say something like, sorry, cell coverage sucks around here. I apologize. You still want me to click? You'd be surprised how many times they'd try again. I answered and pretended to accidentally hang up every single time. They all eventually figured it out. Not before getting really angry, though. I love how your entire strategy wasn't aggressive or vulgar. It was just pure time-wasting agony, which, if we're honest, is the kryptonite of every call center predator out there. And our last story. Karen next door treated my yard like her second home. I moved into my new house just over a week ago, excited to finally have a backyard for my dog and a little privacy after years of apartment living. I was still unpacking boxes and getting my bearings when I heard a creak behind me in the yard, turn around, and there's a woman stepping through the gate in the back corner of my fence. Hi there, I'm Linda. I live next door. I blinked. I hadn't even been outside 5 minutes. She explained that she used to be good friends with the previous owners and that they used to leave the back gate open all the time to go back and forth between houses. Apparently they had barbecues, watched each other's dogs, maybe even swapped casseroles or something. And then, with this casual grin, she said, "So if you ever see the gate open, your dog's welcome to come on over, even into the house." I forced a polite laugh and said, "Oh, that's kind, but he's not super social," which was a lie. My dog loves people. I'm the one who doesn't. Over the next few days, I tried to settle in, but Linda made it hard. I'd step out into my backyard for a breath of fresh air or to play fetch with my dog, and like clockwork, she'd appear. Sometimes through the gate, sometimes just at the fence line, offering unsolicited opinions on my landscaping, the kind of mulch I'd picked, or telling me how the last owners used to let her borrow their lawnmower whenever. Once she even made a joke about how I didn't seem very neighborly. Yeah, no kidding. I avoided a confrontation at first, but then she started tossing treats over the fence for my dog. That was the last straw. I don't even know what kind of food she was giving him, and he's got a sensitive stomach. So the next time she poked her head into my yard uninvited, I decided it was time to say something. "Linda," I really appreciate that you were close with the previous owners, but I'm just not comfortable with people coming into my yard without asking. I'm more of a private person." Her expression shifted immediately. Eyebrows up, smile gone. "Well, that's a little cold," she huffed. "I'm just trying to be neighborly. You don't have to act like I'm a stranger." "I didn't mean to offend you," I said calmly, "but the gate, it just makes it feel like there's no boundary at all." She didn't reply, just gave me a tight-lipped look and marched back through the gate, slamming it behind her. The next day, I hired a handyman to remove the gate entirely and replace it with a full panel to match the rest of the fence. He got it done in a couple of hours. As he was finishing up, Linda came storming out of her back door like she'd smelled the lumber being cut. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" she barked, walking up to the fence. "Taking out a gate that's on my property," I replied, not even looking up from where I was checking the new hardware. "That's not your fence. That gate was shared." "Nope. According to the property survey, that stretch of fence is completely within my lot, which means I get to decide whether it has a gate in it or not." That was apparently the wrong answer. She marched back into her house. 10 minutes later, 2 police officers showed up at my door. I was polite, offered them a bottle of water, showed them the property lines, the original permit for the fence, and even the invoice from the handyman. "She says you damaged her property," one officer said, flipping through his little notepad. I just pointed to the fence and said, "Would you like to see the survey?" They took a look, made a few calls, and then knocked on her door. I don't know what she said, but from the look on her face as she watched the officers leave without doing a thing, it wasn't what she wanted. Since then, she's been giving me the cold shoulder, which honestly is the best thing I could have hoped for. I bought this house for peace and quiet, and thanks to a few boards of wood and some city paperwork, I finally have both. This is how boundaries are set when dealing with difficult people. Linda represents that special breed of neighbor who mistakes friendliness for entitlement, escalating from casual visits to outright trespassing and unsolicited dog treats. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.